Hey everybody, Texas Shrucker here, Lance's Performance Shop, Lone Star Mopars.com. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, what's going on? Is this the thumbnail, or did you forget something? Where'd all the Mac, Matco, and Carlisle stuff go? Why is this still here? Well, it's here because, like I told you, we brought a ton of stuff in from DRPD, and we're going to have several videos. It just made sense to throw out in this order as opposed to one giant conglomerate. As always, I'm open to your feedback on that, but I think this was a good way to do it, and I think you're going to enjoy this one as well. Now, if you're thinking like, hey, we're going to see this stuff and we're just going to totally lose interest because it's going to come down and it'll be similar but different, and I'm just going to check out. I implore you to stick around because I've thought of that. And I've got plans ahead. So what we're going to throw down right here, just right off the bat, is 1 and 2. And if you're thinking like, hey, that's the same crud you got in the box there, buddy, and then you look at it and you're like, wait, no, it's not. What's that? What's going on here? Well, this is a ball end driver. I have wanted to bring in a Vessel ball end driver for forever. I personally hate buying from Amazon, and it's kind of hard to find them. There's been several times I placed orders and I intended to get them, but the place I was buying from that actually has them and or stocks them was totally out of stock. So this worked out really well. Again, my initial plan, I was going to buy these two and these two stubbies. Then I found the set and I was like, that's a really good deal and it fits my color scheme. Same concept here. So these little suckers right here, if you're thinking like, oh, that must set you back a pretty penny. No. You would be thinking of their like fancy division, Nepros. Alright, that'll set you back a pretty penny. That's like Snap-on pricing there. But these little guys here, they really are not that bad. They're $6.55 a piece. And then the crazy thing, we got 15% off of that. So it's kind of the same price range, if you will, as the standard drivers. So coming in again, I don't speak Japanese, so this packaging is not going to be worth much to you and I. But it is kind of cool. If you pay attention to this little tab right here, if I force this down without slicing my hand open on the tip of the driver, not necessarily the paper, then we can just kind of spring it off. So this would be their soft round screwdriver. I will translate the English into English for your pleasure. This is going to be a 6, it's 100mm shaft, and I'm sure this highlights a ton of really cool fancy stuff about it. But that's about it. So the main highlight here, the size and made in Japan. Now, we're going to slide this guy off. Or do we need to pry him off? I don't know. Let's see what I can do. I think we can just, we'll slide it off. No big deal. Might hang on to that because I could possibly mount something with it. In hand, it's got the same tactile feel of this. Again, we deduced it was almost like if you took leather and like an orange peel and crossed the two. That's how it looks. That's how it feels. And it's just a deal where this has the ball in. So where this is going to be nice, in particular what I've always had in mind is like interior work. Like especially on old cars where you've got like a countersunk mess of mismatched hardware from 4 to 5 decades. This allows you to kind of just come in and go to town versus doing that on the standard driver where you wouldn't have the ball in. This is just more comfortable. You also do create, like a spin zone. You do have this dragging your palm. Okay, so that's something you have to factor in. You might want to spin back here, but I do think they'll have a nice place and I'm looking forward to trying them because, again, oddly enough, believe it or not, I've never used a ball end driver like these that they have in Japan. So pretty exciting stuff there. Again, KTC, you've got your size, designation, you spin her around, you've got slotted. Note that lines up with the orientation of the tip, not necessarily the screen printing. These are the ones that just were a little bit off. That set turned out to be fine, but right here, if you recall, there's KTC in Japan. Okay, if I spin it around and we zoom in where you can see it. Oh, okay, these are this way. But check that out, like the KTC is just slightly to the side. It's not like if this was centered perfectly, the T would be there. It's just slightly spun that way and it kind of bothers me. Very minor, not enough to like complain for $7, but I just have to note this stuff because otherwise I would just tell you this seems like a great driver. Now, interestingly enough, on this one you can kind of see what I'm talking about. It almost looks like, the trunk of a tree. That's the texture and the grain. I can't explain it more than I do with oranges and leather, but it feels really good. Note it maintains the same characteristics as our set down there. It just has the bulb end. And you can see that really good on the bulb dent as well. Very nice. So, coming back around, all we have to do is use it and form an opinion from real-world functionality. So, coming around, same thing over here. Soft round screwdriver is going to be there, part number D8P-2. And again, it's the number 2 Phillips, 100 millimeters on the shaft. And if we get lucky, we'll be able to spin this sucker out too. And we'll slide that off. Super easy. Feels great in hand. Again, obviously it's going to be like an exact color match there, so nothing to worry about on that front. You could also come in and you could buy these two a little bit cheaper, you know, than the set, obviously. And if you happen to like the feel of those, or you think, man, these tips are great, they've held up really well, then the set becomes an option. I always advise starting with the lower price entry stuff and then moving up if you like it. In this case, I felt like the set with my color scheme was just already good enough. Now, if you're sitting here and you're thinking like, well, hey, you know, you showed us the color schemes and comparisons versus some German drivers last time. What are you going to do this time that's different? Why should I stick around past this point? Well, I've shown you one of them, the Nepros. We're now going to come down with some Japanese competition to KTC. Okay, we've got our Koken and we've got our Koken. Now, interesting thing here, I cannot... Again, the odds of another company doing what I did with orange Phillips and green slotted is minuscule, especially combined into one set. This right here is just Koken. Phillips is going to be red and slotted is going to be yellow, except for this stubby guy, which is kind of special. If you recall when we brought him in, it's a multi-bit, so it just swaps from Phillips to slotted, right? And it is orange. Their orange is not bad looking, especially with all the black, but it's a little bit more pale than the KTC. Now, these are drivers that go back to like around the time of the Mac that I don't think I ever made a video on. I'm talking like years and years now. And then this right here, I've had this for an eternity as well. I haven't used it because I plan to test it. I have used the Impact one, and I can never get that to function for me. So this is a Vessel driver, another very well-known Japanese brand. All of them with, quite frankly, really good pricing in my opinion. Super cool colors you can get with the Vessel stuff, and they've since made a lot more. This is sort of their, like, they had the Megadora and then they had the Jaws fit one. That's kind of from this era of branding. The knurling on them is really good, but just brought it out for comparative purposes. We're going to go ahead and get started with the Koken though. So again, this is ball end versus Koken's finish outright. As you can see, Koken uses more of like a matte finish like you see with Germany. This is sort of more of like an American style finish on the shaft. 100 millimeters, checks out just dang near perfect. And again, going side to side here, some people will love the ball, some people will hate the ball. I can't tell you what I feel about the ball because I've got to use it. We got to get the ball end in some action, you know, use it under the truck, in an interior, top down. I think is kind of another place that would shine, like doing panel work or something. And this is just kind of more standard affair stuff with the Koken. Really good feedback, really good textile feel there. And again, I think, don't hold me to it, but I think you can get the Vessel, especially, I mean, KTC, especially if you could buy these individually. I think they would turn out to be maybe half the price of the Koken, which Koken didn't seem priced bad to me either, but KTC got some really good price points going on. Now coming in here, this is a byproduct of KTC. It's just stupid good. It's a beautiful, I mean, this is like artwork. It's almost more art than it is tool, but it does both. It's also a striking cap. If you have it in your heart to hit a mirror polish striking cap, or it's something you've ever desired to do, KTC's higher end division has you covered. So for what it's worth, DRPD actually does have these as well. And then there's still a Nepros driver I've not brought in that's sort of more akin to what you see with the Koken, kind of all compiled and crossed over. We may have to do that at some point in time. But yeah, this kind of has elements of the ball end scaled down ergonomically. This thing is just a joy to look at. That's about all I know to tell you. It's an immaculately beautiful screwdriver. Coming in over here, we'll set that down and we'll kind of do an apples to apples comparison because that's the ball end driver and this would sort of be their deal. So the Koken's got a very good profile, as does the KTC. The Koken, these actually feel pretty good in your hand, those little fuzz pads, kind of like an 80s, what were those things called? It's not a koosh ball. Is it a koosh ball? You know what I'm talking about. And there's like a couple with finger slots and the rest was just the fuzz deals. Maybe it was a koosh ball. But both of these feel pretty good. It's just kind of amazing to me that the KTC would have the lower price point. And I guess it kind of depends on your vendor. These were Koken Direct. This was DRPD. Maybe that has something to do. Maybe the DRPD, they're like the same $7 or so a driver. But it's kind of just, you'd have to pick your poison. You know, you'd have to start with Koken Phillips and the KTC Slotted and be like, man, I really like the KTC better, or geez, the Koken fits my hand so well. And then, wow, the Koken, I love the profile, the tip sucks. Man, I really don't like the colors of these, but the tips are amazing. It just all comes down to what you're doing, how you're doing it, and what your personal preferences are in terms of aesthetics and what you get life-wise out of the screwdriver tip. So the last comparison here will just really be over here. We'll take the slotted. It's going to be about what you just saw, so there's not much point in doing it, but we will. Very, very similar. Again, check. Hey, I forgot these were striking cap. Okay, so that is a little bit different there. I think you can probably get them the other way, but this one's a little bit longer. Again, I sized it up, and this is the smaller size down. Just wanted to sort of compare those. Going more apples to apples here, of course, minus the striking cap. This is going to be, again, pretty much identical. That taper there, once again, giving the illusion that this is a lot longer of a screwdriver. So that is that. That's about all the tricks I have up my sleeve for that portion of the video, because that's right, we still have one item from KTC left. This is something I was super excited about. Not gonna lie, I intended to buy two. I intended to buy two sizes, but they were out of stock. But it was something I was so excited about. I said to myself, well, you know, I guess I'll just guinea pig it this way. I actually would have spent more doing the two small sizes. This is the big one. It's all they had, and I'm excited about it. So, what is it, you ask? It's one of the more expensive items that we actually bought, minus some other things I can't talk about because those will be in coming videos. But this is KTC's part number 00906-00104, or YKHD-A. It is a magnetic... What is that, a magnet? What's going on? We don't speak Japanese. We don't know what the deal. Can you deduce what this says? Any of you? Maybe a couple of you can. For everyone else, you're clueless. You don't know what's going on. Well, I'm going to do you a disservice of taking this out of the packaging. I will also tell you, sadly, this turned out to be made in Taiwan. Which I think it's going to, if it works, it should be fine. But I thought it was going to be Japanese direct. But sadly, like I said, it's Taiwan. Very nice cover here because, again, you do know it's magnetic. I've let you in that far. This is KTC. There's that part number you talked about. Is that green? That's a cool color. It looks vastly different from that. This is more like a Stahlwille green, isn't it? It's kind of what I thought. That's why I grabbed this. You're like, why on earth? You got a magnet here. Why would you come in and buy or bring your Stahlwille ratchet? Well, this is a magnetic ratchet holder. So I've never used anything like this. As you know, I'm super big into tool storage and organization. And in the case of these, what I literally plan to do, I was going to get 1/4 and 3/8. 3/8 is what I use the most. 1/4 is light and would be sort of, if the 3/8 sucked, the 1/4 would be functional, is what I thought. I want to put these on the lid of the service card, and they're going to hold ratchets, or at least that's what they claim they're going to do. The price point on this guy was $23.85, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I'll have it linked. I make nothing off of that, solely for your convenience. Let's go ahead and line this up, come around. This is my Stahlwille ratchet that's not near as smooth as the other Stahlwille ratchets. So if it sounds funny, that's what the deal is. This is what happens, okay? This is just a square drive. I mean, imagine a socket being in my hand right here. This is like a 13 millimeter, and here we go. That's what we have. Now the catch is that actually does seem to hold it. We've got to test it, because if it doesn't hold it straight vertically, it's not going to hold it, you know, semi. So here we are, totally opposite the ground, and I'm shaking even, and it's staying put now. It is going to ratchet a little bit, so you can orient it however you want to. But ultimately what this is supposed to do is, my hand was a lid or the side of a box or something. This will hold your ratchet there. And what I like about it so many times with this stuff, like hold your tool on the lid, it's magnetic. They do not provide you this. And what is this where my finger is? Probably overthinking it. It's simply clearance, okay? So you got like this really thin, you know, aluminum or plastic rail with these clips and everything. And it's a great concept, and a lot of stuff does fit, but sometimes like a 1/2 inch drive ratchet, you put this in place in that clip and like your anvil is over here like scraping up against your lid. It's not good. This takes care of that. It insulates the anvil and it pushes this out that length. So this is a cool demonstration. It looks like it's going to work well, but ultimately, to know if it's really going to work and what it looks like in the real world, we got to go put it on a lid in the side of a box, and that's what we're going to do, so come with me. Alright, so first thing first, this is the Husky. Why am I here? It's unlike the Craftsman. This is a smooth finish. This is not. This is a textured finish, almost like truck bed liner. So we're going to take this, which is protectively rubber coated, that's something I always look for in magnets, and see if she functions. She does. It's not the strongest bond, but it's pretty good. It's not weak. I'm not super concerned about it. Let's actually get that where you can see it. That would be smart, wouldn't it? So, very cool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the Stahlwille, no tricks up my sleeve. This is a full-on half-inch drive one. And we're going to take her, and we're going to line it up. I'm going to do it this way. This is full-on out this direction. So now, we're going to have to obviously flip, but she'll just naturally come back down. It looks like it's going to work. This is cool. These are not cheap, sadly. I wish that, you know, like quarter drive was like $7.50 and 3/8 was $10 and this guy was like $12.50, but it's like double that price. This is $23. Granted, we did get it on sale, so it wasn't as steep. But I think a lot of people are going to like this because, again, like I said, so many things exist out there and they work really well, especially like in a flat drawer. But then one of two things happens. Either the magnet is weak and this is like pulling it down, or two, it's simply a situation where you don't get the clearance you need. Right? So like it's kind of like put your ratchet in here and then you kind of have it hammering the side and it never works well. This actually functions pretty good. Now, since I'm still here at the Husky, I'm going to do you a favor. If I had to think what the heaviest half-inch drive ratchet in this drawer is, it's probably going to be this guy. It's the 916 HPLG. Anyone that knows your Hazet part numbers, it's the big dog extendable. Okay, we're going to come in and I'm just going to couple it wherever I can. I can't really see to the side. Let's grab it from over here. There we go. I'm going to do this. Okay, that's a heavy ratchet, and it does slide if I push, but it will hold. So what we're going to do now, the texture could help it not slide, or it could be hindering it. I don't know how it's going. But what I do know is the Master Tech is a smooth powder coat finish, so we're going to run over there and see how these fare. Alright, so we're here at the Master Tech. I've got the lid up, and you're not on the business side because, quite frankly, there's a ton of stuff on the lid, and I don't know when those videos are going to release. I might wind up releasing this one beforehand, and I don't want to spoil things because I've spoiled a lot in the past. I don't know if people realize it, but if you pay close attention, you can often see things that you're not supposed to see that then come later in videos. So I'm just going to completely take the chance away of that happening. Right here, I've got our KTC ratchet holder half-inch drive. We're going to take it and I'm going to get it in the frame where you can see it right at the top, and I'm doing that because this guy is what we're going to use first. I just want to know. Those are going to go worst case scenario. Again, this is the big honker, and the downside with this one is it's not quick release, so I'm going to try to get it in on this angle. Actually, I'm going to take it off to get it in, and now I'm going to put it in. It's going to ratchet down naturally. I'm just going to keep it from whacking into that, and she's holding. So no tricks up my sleeve. My two hands are here. We're going to part the waters. That sucker is holding. It's going to click a little bit on the tripod, but man, that's cool. Now, you're probably not going to have this ratchet out all the time. I guess it depends what you're doing. Like if you're working on big rigs or something, this might be your go-to. For the average person, homeowner, DIY, or just like general automotive stuff, race cars, you're going to use that, but not near as often as you'd something like this. Much smaller and more compact. So we're going to go ahead and set this up. We're going to spin it around, and we're going to stick it right here. Sweet. This is really cool. So I'm running into an engine stand back here, my apologies, but it looks like it's a good product, and I've got a low battery light, and we're running out of time on the card. Everything's going wrong on that front, but this is going right, and that is what matters the most. So the cool thing, if you're using a quick release, you never have to really take that off. You can just leave it in place. And now picture, if you will, whether you're all half-inch drive, maybe you've got like this, you got a stubby and you've got some big honker that's adjustable or a huge breaker bar, you can put all that in place. Now keep in mind, if you're using something like the Hazet or a breaker bar, it's probably in your best interest to pull this off, okay? And then rip that out, take it off of your lid or the toolbox or the painted finish. If you're using quick release, you can pretty much do whatever you want to. It's probably easier to put it in place like that and then stick it every time. But imagine, line up your 3 frequently used 1/2 inch drive, do your 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 inch ratchets, do the breaker bars, any specialty stuff you do. I wish that these were a little cheaper. This is almost a deal where I wish Harbor Freight had this and it was like $9.99, you know, or like a set for $15. Because this, I guess, was, I don't know if KTC came up with this or they're like, man, this is a great idea. We're going to totally, you know, have that private labeled. It is made in Taiwan, but I have no knock against it because it actually works and it works well. The thing some of you might complain about is like, why did you pick green? You know, was it specifically for Stahlwille? It's not an exact color match. Simple answer is KTC on their size ranges. I don't remember how they do it, but I think there's like a green, a purple, and maybe a red, maybe purple's like 1/4. I'm probably butchering this, but they have like set colors, so that might be a downfall. Some of you might prefer this was just black. Some of you will wish that this was like any color you could get or something. Again, imagine if US General had something like this and you could get orange to match your box, or blue, or green, you know, like this is a pretty cool product. I do think it could sell a little less than it is, but the magnet is strong, the magnet is coated, and it does its job. We've tested it with, again, that's the heaviest 1/2 inch ratchet I could find. I'm fully confident if this worked, the 3/8 and the 1/4 would too. And I gotta say, aside from the price and maybe, you know, color preferences, super cool product. Well, my apologies if this is shaky. In a hurry to come over here and recap this video and close it out before the battery died, I waltzed over here without the tripod for some reason. So that said, what did we bring in? We brought in these Ball End KTC drivers, which are a perfect color match, go perfect with my color schemes on the service card. And we also brought in this little gem right here that turned out to work really well. So again, ultimate test here is if it sticks through the mat, I know it's going to be good, and this sticks through the mat. So that's that. I'll get a decent thumbnail for you, but let me know your thoughts on this. I know many of you have used Ball End drivers, probably Vessel, maybe some old school stuff. What do you think of them? Do you prefer them? Are there certain situations where it's what you reach for? And did you get them thinking they're going to be the bee's knees and they suck, you hate them, you never use them? Is it just a mix? Do you kind of just cycle through naturally and you don't prefer one over the other? Let me know your thoughts there, because again, ultimately, that will help people out watching this video. Also be good for my personal archive, although I will start using these and can form my own opinions now. But also, I want to know, that little ratchet holder, what do you think of it? Would you buy it? Do you think it's a little too high? Do you think it's a steal? That's the type of deal, again, whether it's KTC or US General at Harbor Freight or Snap-on even, if somebody made those, you know, their version of them, they had them color-coded, and it was a situation where the price was a little bit better, I think that would probably be on dang near every service card across. I mean, it's just a really functional, practical deal. It does suck if it's not quick release, but again, my advice, pull that off your box, detach the ratchet or breaker bar, put it back on. It's, yeah, some cool stuff here. Again, everything came from DRPD. This is all KTC stuff. Everything is made in Japan except for that ratchet holder. That thing did come from Taiwan, but to their credit, did a pretty good job on it. So with that said, let me know your thoughts on this stuff. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all three at LoneStarMopars.com. With that said, I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned a little something, maybe got some cool ideas for yourself. And ultimately, I hope that I catch you back here next week for more action from the shop.